Oh, hey everyone. If you haven't listened to the first episode, that I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah. Hey, I wonder if there's anybody else who's about ready to go home.
Welcome to the Tales from the Ditch podcast. If at this point you have any questions or are aggravated in any way, please email us at talesfromtheditch@gmail.com. We got a review on iTunes even.
Really?
It was from Fancy Shoes, so I'm pretty sure that's Judah.
Huh. What'd he say?
He said it was thought-provoking and also thought-aggravating. He said, We talk about exactly what you would expect with the title Tales from the Ditch.
Yeah. Well, we've set a high standard. I'm not sure how we're going to live up to that, but yeah. So we were talking about not necessarily being impressed by someone because they have this great intellect, but that sometimes, I don't know, for me personally, it is impressive when I meet someone and they just have way more depth to them than I thought, or understand things, like just deep, interesting things at a great capacity. I don't know, just because I appreciate that. I appreciate depth. I appreciate someone having that, but I don't know. To quote John Mulaney, that doesn't really have anything to do with it. It's not really a joke. It's just a cute little thing I like to say. But
yeah, I think we were talking about this in regards. What was her name?
Oh, Tommy Lauren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not familiar with her.
Everyone will agree with what we say from here on out. She does something that I feel, and this happens on the left and the right, I feel like the people who love her most, it's because she reinforces what they already think.
Yes.
And that's always been a dangerous thing to me, where you go, I have nothing left to learn. I'm right. Everyone else is wrong. Because then you stop pursuing, knowledge or anything, and you just go, I'm just going to find whatever reinforces my narrative. I just have to keep building bricks up to hold it. As opposed to opening yourself up to, what if you are wrong? And that's okay. And just a change of view. I used to have different views on eschatology. I used to have different views with predestination, all these things. And it's okay to say, well, all right, maybe I was, a little off. I used to be way more on the right side. There's so many ways. But she's, and I don't hate her. She's not my cup of tea. I feel like she says a lot of quick, easy things. But if you dissect them enough, there's some holes and stuff she says. And I also think as Christians, it's important not just to say stuff, but how we say things. And I don't always feel she presents it in the most loving way. And someone might say, well, she's not Christian or she's not this. Yeah, but when you share her or share her video, people see her mocking or doing that, and you're sharing it, and they go, oh, I thought you were a Christian.
Right.
And it's like, well, I'm not a jerk. I'm just sharing someone who's, being abrasive. Same thing when I see someone post a video and it says, he put that stupid liberal in their place, or he put that idiot conservative in their place. I'm like, don't share stuff with that title. It just makes us look like such jerks. And if you're like, well, that was a video I had, then make your own post. Write your own opinion. Don't
start your own podcast.
Yeah, start your own podcast. Sponsored by Fireproof, the Left Behinding. But
and one thing I think we were talking about is, I do think she's pretty intelligent. At least she's able to, on a verbal manner, talk about stuff. I don't know if she's reading off a teleprompter. I don't know if she's writing her own stuff. I don't think
so. Yeah.
But she carries herself as an intelligent person, and I think that's good. But I think what I was saying is that intelligence doesn't impress me.
No.
I meet a lot of intelligent people. I meet a lot of people who know how to rehearse stuff. I meet a lot of people who just got finished with a Psych 101 class in their criminal justice degree, and now they know everything. Oh. And they definitely know more than me, but it doesn't impress me. What does impress me is people that have integrity and have maintained integrity, or people who have fallen from integrity but have gracefully worked to regain trust. That impresses me a lot. You don't know a lot of people like that. I don't know a lot of people like that.
So, my wife says I'm bad at, segueing into another topic. So I'm telling you right now, I'm segueing into another topic.
Please do.
We have not really told any tales from the ditch. I feel like we need to. So I'm going to give you the option, Sean, of either A, me running towards a train on foot to try a race. B, the Wild Waters fiasco. Or C, a random band story from when we were in a band. So what would... I can't even think of the word. Tantalizing? Is that the word? What would be tantalizing? What would be a rousing discussion?
What would tickle my nethers? Actually, I don't think that's a saying. Let's talk about the train.
Oh, gosh. So, well, I can give my perspective, which might not be the same.
I think that's a great idea.
So, and then Sean will give the reasonable one. So we had a friend named Vince who lived out, it would be considered Verdi, not Mogul, right?
Yeah, Verdi, right on the border of Nevada and California off I-80.
And what I'm about to say, I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying it's great. It's just something, I don't know, maybe you can learn a life lesson from it. Maybe someone who wants to race a train is going to learn. On this particular night, I had multiple things in my system, and we were goofing off with friends. We would sometimes have a little boxing club with no weight classes, which was healthy, where we'd beat each other's brains in with gloves. But this night we had gone for a walk and kind of gone down by the train tracks. And I forget who said it, or maybe no one at all, because it was probably my insecurity, said, I bet you won't do this. I saw a train coming. And I want to say it was a little distance from me to the track, but you could genuinely see the train coming, to the side of you, in the corner of your eye. So I start sprinting, and I want to say Sean and one other person were sprinting with me, but they had the good sense to stop, and I kept running, and then you can see the train. I literally see out of the corner of my eye the light flashing, and I can feel vibrations from the train coming. And I just dive over. And the train misses me. And I'm reminding you, I had multiple stuff in my system. That's why I was thinking the way I did. I'm pumped thinking I was being tough. But as I see through the train, because there's gaps between each train car, I can see the look on Sean's face, and he seems worried. A few other people seem mad. And as the train passes, I thought it would be this great, happy thing of wow, you're so bad. But most people were kind of worried for me or irritated or angry. And generally, the funny thing is when I look back on, I don't really know what was going on with me at that time, why I felt so much, in a way I do, that I had to prove myself or show I was tough or do crazy things, or even why I didn't value my life that much. A lot of it was I had to kind of prove I was special, prove I had value. But that was kind of my view. And I remember I couldn't just look at Sean and be honest and say, yeah, that was a bad idea. I had to play it off. I had to play it off as being, a tough guy for some reason. But that was kind of how I remember things. Maybe you remember a little differently, but
yeah, I remember that day well, because I was scared by the end of it that you had died or were run over and paralyzed or something like that, because it didn't look like you made it. I remember, to set the stage, Seth is Seth and I am 6'2", 6'3". How tall are you, Seth? 5'11"?
Yeah, I'm not 6. I'm 5'11".
5'11", which isn't that huge of a difference, but when we met in 4th grade, you were much shorter than me. Probably 6 to
you
10
were
inches
shaving
shorter.
at that point already.
Yeah.
I
was
not.
shaving, dropping my kids off before I go to 4th grade. You had not hit puberty yet, and Anyway, so you and I hanging out together, you were always the one who ended up getting in the fights. I mean, both of us would start a fight or get in a fight.
Yeah.
You were the one who both guys went after because they assumed because I was tall that they didn't want to fight me and that they would rather fight you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had already this rage in fourth grade. And you had a rage even before fourth grade when we met for whatever reason. But that's living with a brother, I suppose, is part of it. Anyways,
that's another podcast. That's like 5
that's a whole
episodes.
nother thing.
Yeah.
So, how do I say this? I want this to be therapeutic for you. So by the time we're teenagers, we're like 15, right? In a band.
Yeah, I think we were 15.
With Vince. We're in a band with them. We're hanging out with them, doing a lot of drugs and all of those things. Mm-hmm. And you were in a Martin Scorsese movie. You were Joe Pesci. Not like little and goofy, but you were always that guy that takes things to the extremes.
Yeah.
You were always the guy who you're in a room with 40 people. Everybody in the room knows they don't want to piss you off because you would get angry easily, but also I feel like maybe you would be frustrated just already for strange social reasons, and no matter what, like you're saying, like felt like people were saying, "Oh, Seth, he isn't good enough." Like this was the dialogue in your head.
Yep.
It was like, "Oh, Seth, he's not good enough. He's not cool. He's not tough." And like we would be just walking in a group, and you'd be like, "I'm tough." And people would be like, "We never said anything about that." So, I
had a constant level of anxiety too, so I was always on edge.
Yeah,
always on edge.
Always ready to snap. About something. And I didn't have any problem with it. I liked hanging out with you. Some people didn't. Anyways, so
most of the population.
This night, we're wandering around Verdi, and we see this train. And everybody thinks, like, hey, I wonder if we can run and get in front of that train before it blocks us from crossing. But nobody did it, and then you just started running. And the first thing I think that I thought was like, oh, man, Seth's going to go try to race this train. And I remember other people saying, they're like, I think Vince maybe or Josh or somebody we were hanging out with was like, oh, he can't make it.
Yeah.
It's too fast.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, I didn't say anything, but I remember thinking, well, he's gonna try.
Yeah. Yeah.
No matter what. And I was kind of terrified. I remember at first I was like, yeah, go get him, Seth, or run, Forrest, or whatever was an appropriate joke in the 90s. But then you got closer, and the train got closer, and the train was going fast.
It was going I did not anticipate how fast it was going to go.
How fast can people run? 20 miles an hour?
I could run 12 probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually have no idea. But the train was going faster than you, and it was closing on you, and at the last minute you dove in front of it, and it looked like you dove right into the front of it and got hit by it. Yeah. And I remember being terrified because I was like, oh, this is the last day. This is the day when Seth died, or this is the day when Seth was paralyzed that we're going to look back on for the rest of our lives and regret it. And I'm going to kick myself and ask myself why I let Seth do that or something like that. And I remember, and I was trying to look under the train, like I laid down so that I could like see under it. And for some reason I couldn't see under it. And maybe you could see us, but we couldn't see you because I think the light was on our side and it was kind of dark on your side.
I kept seeing it just between the spaces between, is it boxcars? Is that what you call them?
Yeah.
Yeah, in between like the boxcars, and I saw you, and the only thing that hit me, I was like, they don't seem as pumped about this as I do. I was like, I really thought this would get more of a like a round of applause, but yeah.
Yeah, I remember. And trains are long. I mean, for some reason, trains take a long time, like 3 or 4 minutes of me just sitting there, and you can't run around it.
No.
You just have to wait for it. And so I was just sitting there thinking of, I think there was like an episode of My So-Called Life or something like that where somebody has AIDS and they yell at a train.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
That show, someone, yeah.
Was that show? Or maybe Life
It
Goes On or
sounds
something
legit.
like that?
Life
Anyways.
Goes On, and that show had, they had some people with illness.
Yeah, somebody has AIDS and they're like super mad. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why I think it was Jared Leto. I don't think it was, but I'm
Yeah.
imagining in my head Jared Leto, and he's mad because he has AIDS, and a train comes by, and he just starts screaming at the train.
Yeah. Seems
And I was just
legit.
like, man, I should do that. So I was like, I think I was yelling at you. I was like, Seth, are you okay? I don't know what to do. And then the train passed, and you were just smiling and laughing and being like, yeah, I totally beat that train.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, we thought you were dead.
Yeah.
Why do you do this to us?
Yeah.
And I don't know if I don't know if there's a way to describe it that does justice to how scared I think we all were. Because it legitimately looked like you were dead.
It was very close. And the thing is this, it really does make me think like, that's how far I was willing to go to compensate for some lacking I felt. Because it really is like, there's so many things where we see in American culture with like masculinity that are just so unhealthy. I mean, if you even look at gangs, they're like, I'm willing to kill if it means I can belong. And even though there's this high suicide rate for men in their 30s, 40s, and up, we go, I'm not going to show emotion. I'm not going to cry. That's for babies. And there's just this, I mean, you know, I don't want to be called gay. I don't want to be called weak. I don't want to be called this, blah, blah, blah. And just so extreme, but really what it's crying out is just this desperate need to somehow feel whole or fulfilled or like we matter or that somehow, you know, we're vindicating our existence. And there's lots of reasons for that, but just to me is so heartbreaking because, you know, this whole and I see Christians just like, I don't cry, I'm a guy. I'm like, well, Jesus cried. Oh, I'll worship him, but I'm not going to act like him. And it's like, you're kind of being demeaning towards him. And David, who was a warrior, cried. And really, I mean, with the high suicide rate and how many men struggle with loneliness and pain, we think the best way is to continue to disconnect men from emotions and just find these extreme ways to prove themselves of like, well, I'm going to fight for a living, which is nothing. I have friends who are professional fighters, but you know, they lose a match and it's like crippling. I remember I lost a match and it was crippling. It was like, who am I now? It just, and to think of the logic of that, for me to go, I need to race a train. I need to do that. I didn't care what my friends thought. I didn't think about how it would make them worry. And in hindsight, you look back and go, what the heck was I thinking? Like, what was my problem? But it really was. It was this deep, overwhelming, almost void where I was like, I need something to justify my existence. Something. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there were many instances like that, like where both of us, I mean, it wasn't just you who was confused and disillusioned about the world and life and things like that. But I just did it in a much different way. I think you reacted with actively trying to find that out by like doing and like a trial and error type of thing or something like that.
Yeah.
And I reacted, or I didn't react. I just kind of passively like tried to escape and seek some kind of like clarity about it. You know what I mean? Like through music or drugs or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought maybe sometimes those things would enlighten me and help me to figure out the truth about things. Meanwhile, you like demanded the truth from things and just found everything to be disappointing.
I think one of the things that crushed me was when I really accepted that the world will never be as beautiful as I thought. Because I watched Lord of the Rings, I watched Neverending Story, and to see that and then be told the world is not like that, it never will be. It was almost like, how can I look at that and think in my head, oh, that's possible, or that's the type of world I live in, or maybe, it is possible, but no, it'll never happen. To just, how can I accept a world where I'm just going to work at a job I hate when I've read stories of worlds where you had a cause and purpose and you fought evil? But it really did hit me when I realized the world isn't that great. I'm not going to open a door and find Narnia. When I was a little kid, I looked for that. And it's like, that was another thing that crushed me, I think, where I don't know, in a way I had a death wish because I just wanted to push it. I wanted to almost challenge God. Or if I can antagonize him, that maybe he'd give me an answer of like, justify yourself. Why would you make a world like this? You know what I mean?
We're drinking Evan Williams. That's our sponsor, Evan Williams.
Evan Williams, always smooth, even though life is an eternal abyss with no point. Evan Williams. Conquering Your Giants in theaters next month. The sequel. Finally.
How much time you got?
Finally, white Christians have a movie that speaks to them.
That's true. Can we talk about that real quick?
Talk about what?
How poor Christian media is. Okay, let's start with music. I heard the other day on the radio, I think it was a band that I loathe. And I'm sure they're great people. And I'm sure I almost have a hard time saying I loathe them because I'm trying to love all people. But there's a band called The Apologetics. And what they do, they essentially take mainstream songs and change the lyrics to be Christ-centered. And I think that is the worst possible thing you can do. And so I can't even think of the song I was listening to, but it was so terrible. It was like, well, I've heard them do, they do like the Eminem song where they're like, dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
You only got one shot. But I think it was even a different song. I'll have to ask my wife. It was just the worst thing I've ever heard. It was the
I'm Slim Shady song.
Yeah, that's it.
They did. They're like, what was it? It was something like, Will Smith
I
doesn't
pray
have
daily.
to cuss. He goes, good. Well, that's great for him. I was like, shut up.
It's so terrible. And the worst thing about it is this. One, Christians, art in general is an expression of, I think, stuff that is instilled in us by God. And we should be able to be, as Christians, creative and create art, and that art should glorify God. Stealing mainstream art and changing it to try to redeem it, I think is a joke. I think it's such a joke. You're drawing over there. Got a nice drawing.
No, all right. Here's the thing that drives me nuts. You can't see it, but I drew a picture of a duck.
Well, that's going to be our cover for this episode.
If you believe in eternity and have the Holy Spirit and are set free, and you have all this beauty, you have even some mysteries in the universe, I would expect those people would be the most expressive, the most creative. And I've seen some who like, all right, Lecrae, I think is a great artist. Who is it? I think Thrice could play good music. But it's sad that they stick out to me because they're the exception. Yes. I can't count how many people who go, we're going to be the Christian version of this. I'm like, why don't you just be the band you want to be? They go, no, we'll be the Christian version. And it's constantly this thing of Christianizing things. So it's not this, oh, we're our own kingdom. It's no. We take someone else's kingdom and sprinkle some of our kingdom on top of it. It's like we're a Christian version of Limp Bizkit. How about you just be you? How about you just be creative? No. This is what's selling. And it's never as good. And it just to me goes, okay, so then our kingdom is second rate because we have to copy off someone else's paper for a test. It's just pathetic. Sponsored by.
There's so few good Christian bands. And actually, here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that music or media in general is, you can look at it objectively and say there's good music and there's bad music. And a lot of people don't like that. You know, a lot of people are like, well, whatever works for you. I'm saying right
communists?
Here, no. Yeah, I'm saying right here, no. There is bad music and there is good music.
I agree.
Nickelback, it's bad music.
Oh my
Some people
gosh.
can like it, and I'm saying that you can like it. You have a right to like it, and that's fine. If you like bad music, it's okay. I'll admit that I like a lot of bad music. There's a ton of bad music.
If you like Nickelback, I'm not accepting you. There's a lot of things I'll put up with, man. I have friends who are murderers, but you just listen to their songs. He looks like a piece of ramen, and he's singing these songs. Same chord. Look at the lyrics. Seriously, I'm asking America, pray about this. Look at those lyrics. Yeah. I'm just saying, that is a line in the sand I drew a long time ago.
Music has objective quality. Nickelback, not good. Objectively bad. Christian bands, I would say 90% of Christian bands are objectively bad. And I would say only 70% of regular mainstream music is objectively bad. And I would say, is objectively good. 70% of mainstream music is objectively good, I would say. Well, maybe not.
No, because if we're saying... Sorry, guys, I was looking at my duck picture. I got distracted. If we're saying... So by mainstream, do you mean it has to be top 100, or does that include
that's
indie?
a good point.
Because if we're just saying what's on the radio, I would say 70% is bad. If you're saying all non-Christian mainstream music...
That's correct. I meant not Christian music.
If it's not Christian, 70% is good. You have
secular music. How about that?
All right, if you thought of this, all right, if you name good Christian emo bands, you'd have to think, but there's a few. There's a few good ones. I don't even have to try. Or like indie rock, or just a general band. I can go, dude, Get Up Kids is great. This band
absolutely.
Boom, 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 boom. Christian, you have to go, dude, this one's really good because it stands out. Because I don't feel like anyone in our society goes, man, Christians, they make the best music.
Right.
Do you know how many mannerisms I steal from John Mulaney? It's funny. That was me taking when he says, oh, we got to see Bill. And I take it, John Mulaney, I apologize because I don't even know I'm doing it. You're a great comedian.
We love you.
Peace be with you and with your spirit. But it's...
Do you remember the band Evanescence?
Yeah.
Okay, Evanescence comes out. They drop one song. I think it's the only song that was big.
It was like their known one, yeah.
And everybody flips out. They go, dude, at least in our circle, they go, they're Christians. And I'm like,
that was such a big deal.
I don't care. And the reason it was such a big deal to them is because they're like, wow, Christians have made decent music. And I actually didn't even like that song. I don't like it when people do the like hip hop
I liked it,
thing where
and then a week later I felt guilty for liking it because I realized it wasn't that good. Because Tim Lemaire ruined this for me. By the way, thanks, Tim. He said, does she sing in any other note?
Yeah, right.
And I realized them all, oh, crap, she doesn't. It's one note in every song. Terrible.
Anyways, people got so stoked because and I don't think they are a Christian band. As it turns out, but people somehow thought they were, and they were so excited because they were like, finally, win for us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't understand why Christians can't just make good music, make what they like. I think most of the Renaissance was based on like Christian artists doing pretty good art. Like, what happened to that? So you have like 6 bands that are good out of all the Christian music. I mean, Emery's good, Under Oath is good, things like that.
Yeah, they're good.
But you have so many awful
what was it, Family
copycats.
Force
5.
I love how we're calling. They tried, folks. They really did.
You guys are great people. please keep trying, but just don't be, like Seth said, the Christian equivalent of this band. Just do your own thing.
Well, why aren't we more... All right, this is what I don't get. We do this with celebrities, too. We go, Chris Pratt? And everyone goes, what? They're like, he mentioned God. He said God helped him through. And I go, isn't he in the middle of divorce? They're like, it's not the point. He's a Christian. And I go, is he? They go, yeah, he said God. I'm like, every NBA player after a win brings up God. They're like, no. This is the big one, folks. We got one. I'm like...
That's idolatry.
Yeah, because think of it. We're finding credibility. We're almost going, oh, this was good. But now that he does it, it shows... See, look, guys, a cool person agrees to this.
Right.
And it's so lame where I'm like, why aren't we... It tells me we're not as inspired as we think. That we're so, once again, I'm going to bring up politics, have to get power, have to get victory. We're forgotten. Think of the new heaven and new earth. Use your imagination. Look at the movies we've made. And God's imagination, I promise you, is better. The colors we can describe. So what colors does God have when the animals and creatures we think of? Don't just look at your city and see the dirt and soot. Like, what about the spot? Like the towers, the spires, the just bridge, just
the green hills.
The green hills, the cities of the kingdom of heaven built up. Because it says new heaven, new earth. By the way, people, we don't just get raptured and go to like a different planet. Like, I'm not bashing on that, but like it says new heaven, new earth. All the universe is redeemed. We have that.
A crystal river running through the middle. A
crystal river, a sea of glass. And think of it. They say it's like this. So that's even more beautiful. Why are you not inspired that the most you can do is go, well, I'll take 3 chords.
We're going to copy Eminem.
We'll copy Eminem. And I'm like, that's what you did with the opportunity God gave you. It's like, we should... I will say this, though. Dang it. Who's the guy? There is a Christian artist he does worship. Gosh, he's good. I don't know. I like him. Not David Crowder.
Dustin Kensrue, maybe?
He's good, too. No. He does...
He's original. He doesn't like copy people. He just does his own thing, and I appreciate that.
Who is it? Shoot. Something Kaleidoscope?
Oh, King's Kaleidoscope.
All right, maybe you don't like him. That guy's creative, I feel like. And have you seen some of his videos?
Mm-mm.
He had one. He's walking through a forest, and he has a cape, and the cape isn't a color. It shows the stars in the universe.
Right.
And then he's finding stuff, and he's talking about the colors of your world. And I'm just like, and the tempo even changes randomly. Even if you didn't like, I go, that guy has talent. Right. But he stood out to me. Why? Because that's not every day.
Right.
It just, yeah, King's Kaleidoscope. I think that guy's brilliant. Dustin Kensrue, he's actually lasted too.
Yep.
He's actually stayed like a believer and like made good music. He was a worship pastor for Mars Hill, but he, yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know why we're not more inspired.
In regards to film, too, and creativity and the ability to stretch the dollar is important when you're making films. Christians should be able to do that more than anybody else. Yeah. Having been persecuted, and actually maybe like this is the problem, is it's the American Hollywood, and Americans don't know that much about persecution. At least our generation doesn't. A few ago maybe do. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
You look at some movies that took no budget at all to make and were very successful.
Give an example.
Clerks.
It didn't. That was a low budget.
It was low budget, and I believe he maxed out his credit cards. It did cost a lot to make, but it was still something that one person with credit cards can put together and film and get friends. I'm sure he had to like talk a lot of people into it and do a lot of stuff. I've heard Kevin Smith talk about it a lot, and he basically just said, he goes, "This is what I'm born to do."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to do it no matter what. And I'm sure, I once considered myself a filmmaker, and you can't afford all the things that you have in your head. And so you have to be more creative to be able to get those things onto film. Here's a maybe kind of good example. Signs. I know that M. Night Shyamalan he is a big name director, and he has a lot of funding. But look at the movie Signs.
Yeah.
And besides the cast, that movie must have costed less than $200,000 to make.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you have cornfields and a rubber alien hand and a little bit of CG work. And it was, and say what you will about this movie, I thought it was fantastic. It's slow,
enjoyed it.
and it definitely takes some time to build. But I thought it was a really entertaining movie, and it scares the crap out of my wife because she's scared about aliens. She says that's one of the most believable alien movies she's ever seen. And it took nothing at all besides the cast. Mel Gibson, I'm sure, was a lot to pay for. And Joaquin Phoenix and Culkin Kid and all that. But my point is, you can do a lot with a little. Christians should be better at that than anybody. So Kirk Cameron, we make fun of Fireproof a lot. In the 2 times that we've made fun of it, I guess that's a lot.
Seth makes fun of it quite a bit.
But here's the thing. I love Kirk Cameron. Growing Pains was my jam when I was a kid.
It had
Mike
Leo
Seaver.
DiCaprio on there.
Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio was the little troubled, distant brother or adopted brother or something
I don't
like
know. He had my haircut, so...
But Kirk Cameron is great, and Kirk Cameron has a lot of integrity.
Yeah,
I would
he's
love
not
to see
a
him
bad
do some
guy.
good stuff.
He's not... I just want him to step...
But
Yeah.
why can't the movies be better?
All right,
What's the holdup?
I thought, I'm not sure, but I thought he had said he knows he's, putting it for a specific audience. Because here's the thing. We all know we don't always say, gosh, gee golly, I'm sinning. I've hit my son's toys with my toe and cussed before. But he can't do that because he has to present this, product that goes to a specific demographic of Christianity that wants to see this clean-cut version of salvation of a guy who sins, but in a way that's not morally offensive and doesn't bother their kids, and it shows him turning out good because he does stuff that's bad, but, it's not cussing or nudity, and then he ends up following God. And I feel like he's trying to tailor. I think he knows that, and I think he wishes he could be real because... No, it's not clean. The Christian walk isn't clean. It's messy. And those movies are honest. I appreciate. There's one I want to see I haven't seen yet, Heart of Man. And that one's supposed to be more serious. But it's like we're catering to this demographic of people who are already Christians, which I don't know why we're doing that. They're already Christians who go, I want a nice film that tells a story that reinforces my belief, but I don't want it to be too realistic or actually show what sin looks like. I just want to show us winning and, what God does. And, someone does something kind of clean and neat and they end up, becoming good and they vote Republican. And then, they're a nice little white family. And it's like, no, it's not. I got saved in jail next to people who beat their wife. And I wasn't in jail saying, oh gosh, darn it. When will the Lord change me? It just, it's catering to this terrible American Christianity that's just this culture, this perfect picket fence. And no, I like Christianity weird. We were butchered by lions. We were saved by a bleeding Messiah who had blood in his lungs while he was dying, and then Paul was murdering Christians. That's our faith. It's not clean. It doesn't succumb to your stupid little cul-de-sac. But I don't know.
I agree. I feel like
sponsored by Beards.
I feel like we're supposed to embrace discomfort as Christians. I feel like Paul says that it's our job.
Suffering, it's promised.
Yeah, we're going to endure suffering, but enduring suffering with integrity is the important part, not avoiding discomfort. And I feel like making movies where the extent of the discomfort comes down to like being ostracized by the 6 people around you is kind of underwhelming. Dead Alive. There's a good movie. That was a horror film made by Peter Jackson before he made Lord of the Rings.
Family friendly. Don't
Kong.
worry, guys.
Yeah. I
Sean
think
Moss
he made it
swears
with
by
the smallest budget. I think it won an award
Yeah.
for this. It was like a tiny budget, and it was like one of the goriest films ever made. And still, it was possible, because if you put your mind to it, even if the story's bad, you can still make a good film. Kirk, we love you. We want to see excellent films.
Yeah, I want to be clear, because I know he listens to this podcast. This isn't an indictment on your character. We don't want to lose your sponsor money.
Fireproof.
Fireproof
9.
in theaters. The Left Behinding. Let me just give you a dispensation of truth. I just want you to show the inspiration that heaven inspires in people. That's it. That's it, Mr. Cameron. I mean, I know we've gone back and forth. We've had our differences for 50 years, but he really isn't. You know what? I want to point this out because he is a brother in Christ. Him and his wife have a camp for kids who have like cancer. I can't look at that and be like, gosh, what a jerk. I just am sick of the demographic, man. I'm sick of being called communist or not American enough. I'm sick of being so focused on these crazy cultural things. We have a weird faith. I'm with Russell Moore, man. I gotta say, but
I agree. Yes, I love the idea that we could be inspired to worship through a film.
yeah,
It's just so unfortunate that the only times I've been inspired to worship through a film has been watching movies like Lord of the Rings.
yeah.
Or even
That's
Jurassic
crazy,
Park.
yeah.
Toy Story 1 has brought me to tears a few times.
Story one.
Toy Story 3
Three at the
was
end?
unbelievably tragic. All kinds of stuff. And I am a little frustrated. And I know all these people are good people, but I'm a little frustrated when the Christians have the least compelling media produced that would turn me to worship God. And I'm not saying that. I'm trying not to say that out of anger. Like I love that I can be drawn to worship God through sometimes even secular media, or through something like nature or whatever it may be. I'm just, I guess, disappointed that it hasn't come through the Christians. Because like you said, they have the Holy Spirit. They are looking forward to heaven. They should know better than anybody how to draw people's hearts to worship the God that created the world.
Yeah. It has to do with idolatry and that they're wrong and we're right. I mean, that's
Exactly.
So, I will say this, things to look forward to. We will have Ryan Smith on the podcast. He will be talking about why he's a pacifist and you're all in sin.
Yeah, why pacifism?
Pacifism.
He wants to come in and say why pacifism is the correct choice for every adult.
He wants to say why you're all wrong. I don't know. We can future subjects, refugees, gun control, Marvel versus DC. Here's all right. Here's one. Pie or cake?
Oh, easy. Pie.
I agree. I thought
don't
that
need
was
a
going to be a
podcast for that.
debate. Okay. Well, sorry guys. That was episode 5. I just kind of old Seth blew that one.
Cake has been out of my range of interest for a long time.
I want pie. Dude, you can get have you ever had strawberry rhubarb? I know you may not like
yes.
this, but have you?
I do. With some ice cream?
Dude.
Oh my gosh. And rhubarb's disgusting on its own.
Without the strawberry ice cream, I wouldn't eat it, but for some reason I liked it like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Something Sean doesn't like to talk about is beef Wellington. Have you guys had, all right, you American snobs, eat beef Wellington. Sean gave it to me. So good. Which, by the way, sponsored by Wellington.
Beef Wellington.
By Beef Wellington. It is
the best
meal,
Wellington is beef Wellington.
the meal of dukes and bishops. Are you a serf or are you a duke? Find out. Beef Wellington 2018.
Word up.
Tales from the Ditch is it Gmail? Tales from the Ditch at gmail.com to tell Sean or Seth, I guess, because I don't get enough criticism. Bye.